Dear readers and authors, I'm here proudly presenting you the Brazilian Journal of Experimental Design, Data Analysis and Inferential Statistics, BJEDIS. My name is Fernando Gomes and I am the BJEDIS first editor-in-chief. How we know life imposes unexpected challenges. For instance, who could assume that we would face a pandemic, even living under all the technological advances we enjoy? In contrast, hard times always bring new opportunities. Nothing better than the history of this newborn journal to illustrate it. This history begins in 2018 when Sergio Todd, Marcelo, Barcellos and I ran our first meeting on offering a mini course focused on statistics for our students. Soon after, Emanuele Nunes joined the group. A short time later, we realized we were planning a conference. Then, we have started gathering support from the Brazilian researchers involved in this subject. Our happiness was immense when we realized a gap in this field, since disseminating this knowledge is a dream for many research groups. Thus, the first Brazilian conference on design of experiments and data analysis was born. Our conference was entirely virtual, therefore we could apply symbolic registration fees, allowing the registration of hundreds of participants. Then, our attendants were encouraged to send complete papers which would compose a book dedicated to the event. The number of received papers was a very encouraging return from our community. This feedback motivated us to further our initial goals by proposing a new journal, the Brazilian Journal of Experimental Design, Data Analysis and Inferential Statistics. BJEDIS came full of Combrapa's DNA, including being a genuinely inclusive and open access media for scientific dissemination, symbolically financed by our authors. BJEDIS published scientific works in science, engineering, and humanities, freely providing the e-version of the peer-reviewed and accepted scientific papers in any of the subjects mentioned above. From the 44 completed works received, our editorial team was pleased to select 11 papers to compose the present first issue of BJEDIS Volume 1. This first issue presents contributions dealing with several subjects such as text mining, neural networking training, Python for the randomization of laboratory experiments, experimental design to process improvement, chemical process inside reactors, and new materials useful to civil engineering, drug delivery, and environmental recovery fields. We hope you all enjoy this issue and support BJEDIS by sending us your invaluable contributions. Thank you all.
Feature interview, Professor Dr. Veronica M. A. Calado. Dear readers and colleagues, it is a pleasure to invite you to read the interview with Professor Dr. Veronica M. A. Calado. She is graduated, master and PhD in chemical engineering. She was an invited researcher at the Center of Composite Materials, University of Delaware and at the University of California, Berkeley. Currently, she is a full professor at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. Besides, she is a reviewer of renowned international journals as Composites Science and Technology, Carbon, Polymer Composites, Composites Part A, Applied Science and Manufacturing, International Journal of Engineering Science, Food Chemistry, Food Research International, and also a member of the editorial board of Composites Science and Technology and Advances in Materials Science and Engineering. Therefore, she is an expert in the materials area, emphasizing composites, applied statistics, planning and statistical control of processes, besides thermal and rheological characterizations. During the first Brazilian Conference on Design of Experiments and Data Analysis, Professor Calado was awarded the Academic Distinction Award for her unique contribution to disseminating scientific knowledge in Brazil, mainly in experimental design and data analysis fields. Enjoy.
I got my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering at the Federal University of Pernambuco in 1981. After that, I was invited to work at Votorantim Group, but I did not accept it. I was completely decided to get my master's and doctorate degrees at UFRJ because I knew I wanted to be a professor at some university. My dream came true in July of 1983 while I was still a master's student. Nevertheless, I wanted to be more than a professor. I wanted to become a scientist because I always liked to be challenged and know how to explain real facts. With this thought, I have been working with different topics, such as composite materials for some industries, food, petroleum, civil construction, statistical analyses, polymers, thermal analyses, transport phenomena. But rheology is the science that I consider very impressive. It is so intriguing and so fascinating. My professional career focus started with composite materials when I spent 2 years at the Center for Composite Materials, University of Delaware. However, in 1998, I decided to teach applied statistics at our graduate program from Escola de Química, UFRJ, and did not stop anymore. From this time on, I got very involved with statistics, which was definitive to my future research. I noticed how necessary the knowledge in statistics was to improve the quality of my work and of many students I had the opportunity to teach. The most cited papers I have more than 250 citations are Trends in Chemometrics, Food Authentication, Microbiology, and Effects of Processing and Statistical Approaches to Assess the Association between Phenolic Compounds and the Antioxidant Activity of NTs. I also wrote a book about design of experiments by using Statistica, with a new edition coming soon, and some chapters applied to food science development and optimization of prebiotics and probiotics food. 2011, The Use and Importance of a Design of Experiments in Process Modeling and Food Science and Technology, 2014, and Optimization of Food Processes Using Mixture Designs, 2020. Nowadays, I am working with lignin, an extremely complex molecule from which we can extract many products with different uses, such as a binder, in a supercapacitor, in food, in carbon fibers, in medicine, in cosmetics, in pharmaceuticals. Using the design of experiments will address the best experimental strategy to optimize cost and time in order to have competitive new products. I would like to produce something to help many people to live better in many aspects. This issue is my fuel to keep working until I have strengths for this achievement. To transform this dream into reality, it is imperative to know how to efficiently analyze all the data we must have to validate any scientific study. For that, our background in statistics needs to be very strong. Thus, before starting a new work, everybody needs to think about the best design of experiments. The data set needs to be robust and trustful, and the analyst must understand the results to conclude correctly. All sciences need statistics. This new journal, the Brazilian Journal of Experimental Design, Data Analysis and Inferential Statistics, intends to spread the use of statistical tools to help people obtain good results for their studies. Enjoy every paper published herein, and the success will come for sure.
Polyaniline, Trends and Perspectives from Text Mining Analysis. By Fernando Gomes. Abstract: Polyaniline (PANI) is the oldest and most studied conductive polymer in the world. This polymer, reported by Leatherby in 1862, was substantially better understood due to the tireless efforts of hundreds of scientists. Among them, Professor Alan McDermott has contributed with more than 120 published papers about PANI. During his last visit to Brazil, Macro IUPAC 2006, Professor McDermott stated that, "I am sure there is still much to be studied about polyaniline. Thus, the objective of this work is to carry out a text mining on Pani in the 2 last decades. For that, the main keywords associated with the material in question will be presented, year by year. This approach allowed seeing how the theme has evolved during this period. Besides that, text mining has helped us to extrapolate scenarios for the coming years. Thus, nanotechnology, molecular modeling, and polyaniline will be the main drivers for accelerating the arrival of a new world, where science, machines, systems, and people will work together, bringing more efficient results and increasingly strategic processes, which will benefit all humankind.
Drug Delivery Polymers, an Analysis Based on Literature Text Mining. By Emiliane et al. Abstract: many polymers are used as drug carriers for controlled delivery because of its many advantages. To find the most used polymers for this purpose in recent years, we chose to use text mining as an evaluation tool. Text mining tool was precious in this work to identify the main polymers that contributed to drug delivery, allowing us to draw a map year by year based on correlation analyses. Firstly, an analysis was made on what was most researched per year, and then what were the most cited polymers. Then the most mentioned polymers were separated and organized to observe which year it was more or less cited. It was found with this work that none of the polymers showed only positive correlations in all years. Besides, polymers did not reveal individual growth in their use over the years. The text mining presented here proved to be an efficient and quick way to observe the desired theme and open up possibilities for research in different fields. Lactic acid (PLA), an analysis based on literature text mining. By Emiliane et al. Abstract: the most researched and used biodegradable aliphatic polyester worldwide is polylactic acid (PLA). Due to its inherent properties, PLA is a leading biomaterial for several and numerous applications and the most promising biopolymer capable of replacing conventional petroleum-derived polymers. Besides, PLA is also one of the most promising candidates for new developments in the traditional sectors such as packaging and the automotive industry, in the electronics industry, and the biomedical area. To verify the importance of drug release in the various applications of PLA, a text mining of the last 10 years was carried out. The text mining tool was used to identify this polymer's main applications in the last 10 years, allowing us to draw a map year by year based on correlation analysis. Firstly, an analysis was made of the main applications of PLA in scientific research by searching for PLA in the Science Direct scientific base and using the online tool Voyant Tools. Some words related to drug release were selected, checking how many times they were mentioned over the years. In this way, it was possible to see which years were the most and least used PLA in drug release. It was not possible to observe a gradual increase or decrease in this polymer's use, for this purpose, over time. The text mining presented here proved to be an efficient and fast way to observe the desired theme.
Data Augmentation Technique in Neural Network Training. By Igor Rossi Fermo al. Abstract: the data augmentation technique is used to increase the number of images in an image bank for training a neural network. The technique generates new images from an original image, using elementary operations such as rotation, shift, zoom, noise, contrast, enlargement and translation. The new images created are different from the original image, even having the same image as the source. The operations used make the image different when compared point by point with the original image, which provides the neural network with a greater number of possibilities for your training. The data augmentation technique is widely used in cases in which the training set is very small and is not sufficient for the neural network to extract the characteristics of a given class. The technique was used to enlarge an image bank of orange photos that will be classified by a Hopfield network with respect to quality and size criteria. Due to the scarcity of images of bad oranges, in order to balance the image bank so that the analysis of results is coherent, the technique was applied in a set with 59 images of oranges, being 50 good and 9 bad. The image bank was expanded to 100 oranges, 50 good and 50 bad. The results obtained were satisfactory and consistent with a high-accuracy classifier. A bio-phase change material from poly-butylene succinate to be used in concrete. By Vitor Costa al. Abstract. The objective of this research is to test different variables combinations and show which poly-butylene succinate-based PBS-based material OBS material has the best properties to be added as a bio-phase change material in concrete matrices. In this experimental study, a novel PBS-based phase change material (PCM) was synthesized to be applied in concrete systems to increase thermal resistance. Box-Benken design was followed to produce a total of 14 samples with different reaction times, catalyst concentrations, and glycerin concentrations. All of the samples were able to decrease the regular melting point of PBS from 110 C to around 68 C, showing a significant improvement that allows the use of this material to improve the thermal properties of concrete systems. Preliminary study on the application of the Python language as a tool for the randomization of laboratory experiments. By Igor Santos al. Abstract, digitization, network operation and an emphasis on data become the main attributes of smarter production, the core of a phenomenon declared as Industry 4.0, or the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or even the Fourth Technological Era. Amid the revolution of the fourth technological age that occurs in our society, the demand for professionals with programming skills stands out. A first challenge in this context concerns how to train professional programmers, in a current, effective, and versatile programming language. A second challenge concerns how to provide this professional with a useful programming base for experimental planning and data analysis, already integrating his programming learning with experimental planning theory. In line with these challenges, a Python language computer programming course was developed with application in the context of the completely randomized design. The objective of this work is to present and discuss the short course, its construction methodology, and the results of this short course, which took place at the first Brazilian Conference on Experimental Planning and Data Analysis. The main results were: 1. Participants learnt about basic programming logic, 2. Participants learnt about using basic instructions in the Python programming language, 3. Participants learnt how to create a randomized experimental sketch in the context of CRD using Python. 4. Elaboration of a specific short course construction methodology. It is noteworthy that, through evaluation with a questionnaire, it was possible to conclude that 100% of the participants in the short course who answered the questionnaire evaluated the short course as beneficial.
Nanotechnology and Concrete, a bibliometric review. By Vitor Costa et al. Abstract. This review intends to show how nanotechnology is currently being applied in concrete. Both organic and inorganic species can be used as nanoagents, producing materials with improved properties, promoting economic and environmental gains by extending the material's lifetime. Thus, this paper covers nanotechnology applications to improve mechanical, thermal, and corrosive properties of concrete and shows bibliometric results proving the increase of interest in these fields. Results have shown that organic agents are more commonly used than inorganic ones, and that nanotechnology is applied mainly to improve mechanical and thermal properties. Up-and-coming oil-sorbing green fibers, a text mining study. By Fernando Santos and Fernando Gomes. Abstract: oil is a crucial raw material preferably transported by sea. Thus, spills frequently take place in the ocean. Several alternatives have already been investigated to combat these disasters. This paper discusses the possibility of using lignocellulosic fibers for environmental recovery via the sorption of oil spilled in accidents. The data search was performed using Google Scholar. The obtained results allowed the choice of 4 fibers: coconut, sisal, peat, and kapok. The retrieved reference numbers were 8,360, 6,360, 6,360, and 2,380 for coconut, sisal, peat, and kapok fibers. There was no period restriction. 10 papers with significant results were chosen, and their main results are presented here. All fibers are renewable, besides presenting low cost and excellent sorption capability compared to polypropylene, commercial material, equal to 6 to 10 gram of oil per gram of the sorber.
A case study of an experimental design to laboratory process improvement. By Edson Montoro and Flavio Montoro. Abstract: in a chemical analysis laboratory it is extremely important to identify and quantify the contribution of the stages of the analytical process in the final variability of the results, thus facilitating the directing of efforts in the search for continuous improvement. In this type of laboratory, the improvement corresponds to the reduction of variability, which guarantees greater reliability of the analytical results, and one of the ways to achieve this reduction is to carry out an experiment. In this work, a practical example of a chemical industry will be presented in which the experiment allowed to quantify the contribution of the steps: 1. Preparation of the samples, 2. Of the different technicians, and 3. The measurement itself. An experiment with random factors and a hierarchical factor, nested factor, was used and the results were analyzed using an ANOVA. From the analysis of the results, it was identified that the major contributor to the final variability was the preparation of the samples. Efforts were directed at this stage with a review of the procedure and training of technicians, which provided a general improvement in the reliability of the analytical results. With a second similar experiment it was possible to prove the effectiveness of the improvement actions.
LED light integrated reactors, study of the methylene blue chemical oxidation process. By Julia Carvalho et al. Abstract: the contamination of water by organic dyes, such as methylene blue, is a risk factor for the environment, since all aquatic fauna and flora are immensely affected due to the reduction of the amount of dissolved oxygen and the passage of light, affecting the photosynthesis. The main source of contamination comes from the textile industry, so it is necessary to study efficient techniques for treating effluent without the cogeneration impact. In the present work, a study was developed to evaluate the best combination of factors of a batch treatment to be applied in a continuous treatment system. The removal of methylene blue by chemical oxidation was evaluated using sodium persulfate as an oxidizing agent. A complete experimental design was devised to evaluate the effects of the activation of the oxidizing agent by iron sulfate and visible light, these being the factors. After this batch step, the tests that were efficient integrating the contaminant were carried out in the continuous reactor. The degradation results showed that, in batch, the oxidation with activation of sodium persulfate by iron sulfate is more efficient, removing 91.2% of the dye in 20 minutes. In the continuous reactor, activation with a visible light source showed greater conversion due to its greater contact surface with water contaminated with dye, removing 59.2% over 15 meters from the reactor and residence time of 109 seconds. Synthesis and characterization of modified magnetic nanoparticles for removal of dispersed oil in water. By Fabiola Maranhão et al. Abstract: this paper proposes the synthesis of materials capable of sorption oil dispersed in water. from the production of magnetic iron oxide nanoparticles, more specifically magnetite. Inorganic modifications were performed using quartz and silica alumina, in order to identify their properties and sorption capabilities of oil. The produced materials were characterized by Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy, scanning electron microscopy with energy dispersive spectroscopy, X-ray diffraction, sorption and magnetic force tests. At the end of the characterizations and tests, it was concluded that the magnetic nanoparticles were successfully modified. Regarding magnetite, the sorption capacity was outstanding, while the modifications had the same sorption capacity. And the statistical calculations obtained by ANOVA and Tukey's method proved the difference in the sorption of the samples. In addition, it was evidence that the higher the magnetic force, the greater is the ability to collect the spot nanoparticle using a magnet.
BJEDIS.